What messed you up for the rest of your life? When I was 9, I lived in this crappy apartment building with walls so thin you could hear your neighbors sneeze. My parents worked double shifts just to keep the lights on, so I spent most afternoons alone, eating ramen and doing homework while listening to people fight next door and sirens outside. There was this guy who lived in apartment 3B, Mr. Ray. Everyone said he was creepy. Kids at school said he'd probably killed someone. He walked with a limp and never smiled at anyone, always kept his head down in the hallways. When neighbors tried being friendly, he'd just grunt and keep walking. I believed all the rumors. Every time I saw him in the stairwell, I'd press myself against the wall and hold my breath until he passed. One Thursday evening in November, I forgot my key at school. My parents wouldn't be home until after midnight because they were both pulling doubles. I sat in that cold hallway for like 30 minutes, hugging my backpack, trying to stay warm. The fluorescent light above me kept flickering and making this buzzing sound that was driving me crazy. Then Mr. Ray opened his door. He looked at me sitting there and asked in this gravelly voice, "You locked out?" I was terrified, but nodded. He stood there for a moment, then opened his door wider. "You can wait here. I got juice and cable TV." I didn't know what else to do, so I followed him inside. His apartment was nothing like I expected. It was clean and organized. He had bookshelves everywhere, framed pictures on the walls, and this orange cat curled up on his couch. He poured me a glass of orange juice in a Mickey Mouse cup and turned on cartoons. We sat there in silence for like 2 hours until my parents got home. That became our routine. Every time I forgot my key or got home before my parents, I'd knock on 3B. Mr. Ray would let me in without asking questions. He'd give me snacks and let me watch TV. Sometimes he'd help me with math homework. Turns out he used to be a librarian before he got hurt in some accident at a warehouse job. His wife had died years ago, and he liked doing crossword puzzles and feeding birds outside his window. He wasn't scary at all. He was just lonely. After a few months, I started telling people at school that Mr. Ray was actually pretty cool. Big mistake. Some kids thought it was weird that I was hanging out with an old man. They started saying stuff like he was grooming me or whatever. One day, I came home and someone had spray-painted "pervert" across his door in red letters. Someone called the landlord and said they were worried about me being alone with him. Police came and talked to me. Child Services interviewed me too. I kept telling them nothing bad ever happened, that he just gave me juice and helped with homework. But they kept asking the same questions over and over, like they were waiting for me to say something different. Everyone kept saying, "Better safe than sorry," and "You can never be too careful with children." Mr. Ray got evicted the next week. I watched through my peephole as he loaded his stuff into a beat-up truck. He looked so defeated. I wanted to run out and say goodbye, but my mom held me back. She said it was for the best, even though she'd never actually met him. A few months later, we moved to a different apartment across town. I thought about Mr. Ray sometimes, but figured he'd found a new place and was doing fine with his crosswords and his cat. Fast forward 15 years. I'm 24, working as an EMT on the night shift. We got called to this low-income housing complex for an elderly man who'd collapsed. When we got there, the apartment was basically empty except for a cot, a walker, and a stack of crossword books. The guy was unconscious on the floor. I recognized the limp before I even saw his face clearly. It was Mr. Ray. 15 years older, a lot thinner, but definitely him. He was barely breathing. We tried everything we could, but he was already gone by the time we got him to the hospital. Heart failure. The landlord told us he'd been living there for about 5 years. No family, no visitors, just him and those crossword books. The only thing in his refrigerator was cat food, but there was no cat. Turns out he'd been feeding strays in the alley behind his building. That night messed me up. This man who'd shown me kindness when I needed it most died completely alone because people assumed the worst about him.